The latest discovery that I've made in the racist, sexist, bigoted, laughable, far left influence on Silicon Valley in this case is when you typed England match into Google, it should show you about the men's football team. Because men's football is watched by about 100 times more people than women's football. Women's football is a minority sport. No one cares about it. Maybe when there's a World Cup on, it's interesting. But it's a sport like netball, hockey, something like that. It's a sport no one watches. No one gives a fuck about. Men's football, biggest sport in the world, most money in the world, orders of magnitude, more viewers than women's football. When you typed England match into Google, before, when Google used to be sane, it showed you about men's football fixtures. Now what comes up is women's football, again a minority, irrelevant sport, played at a very low standard. Women are very bad at football. You put a men's football team, an amateur men's football team up, they could be any professional women's football team in the world easily, if a semi-pro men's team. So so now you put that in, instead of Google returning what almost everyone wants, which is men's football, it returns women's football, the England women's team, and the England women's team roster, as they use the American word there. If you need any more evidence that we live in a matriarchy that fools you into thinking it's a patriarchy, go no further than this. Google, as I've said before, is no longer search. It's not finding you the truth. Google is now a 1984 social engineering machine that is there to try and control your thoughts. Here's what Google can do. They can fuck off. Because most normal people don't want to be socially engineered, especially when the social engineering is coming from extremists. Google is an extremist cult, a leftist cult. They're not a sane organisation. They're not rational. They're extremists. They're extreme leftists. They all have Trump derangement syndrome. They all think walls are racist. Well, when I say all, that's the prescribed, allowed opinion in the company. I'm sure there's a lot of people who work at Google who are sane, who don't have these ridiculous views. But if you work there, it's like, I'm sure this is quite a similar comparison. It's like if you were a German in the 1940s, working in the government, there must have been a lot of Germans who didn't like the Nazis. But Google is basically the Nazi party now. Silicon Valley, this is the Nazi organization of modern times. The focus of their hate and the exact ideas they have, sure, that's different. But they hate whites because they're self-loathing whites. They hate men because they incorrectly perceive that we live in a patriarchy. What we actually live in now is turning into a matriarchy, but men and women have different interests. This is why there's more men in tech than women, for example, and they know this because the science says it, but they choose to ignore it because they're fucking insane ideologues who are following a religion. The extreme left is a religion. A diversity, which is uniformity of thought, intersectionality, inclusion, which is excluding white men. Where these are the 10 commandments of the religion. These are things that must not be questioned. So the latest outpouring of this is now it's the women's national football team. No one gives a fuck about women's football. Sorry. Why are you serving up a sport that has probably less than 1% the viewership of men's football? You know that's not what people want. Yet you're trying to socially engineer people. It's not your role, Google. Fuck off with your social engineering. You're supposed to return information to me that I want about how the world is, not about how you want it to be. And how you want it to be is fucking stupid. Women's football will never be as good as men's. Women are not as strong as men. No women's sport would ever be anywhere near as good as men's sport. But that's not even relevant. You shouldn't be playing this game. Now, if you work at any big tech or any big company, and you see this kind of racist, sexist, bigoted bullshit, because Silicon Valley they're the new Nazi party, racist, sexist, bigoted bullshit. I'm not racist. I want a post-racial society. Silicon Valley wallows in race baiting, fake victimhood, etc. If you work at one of these big companies, blow the whistle. You can go to projectveritas.com. I think /Brave is the whistleblowers location. This is where you just need to tell them what's happening. This kind of behaviour is probably illegal, certainly immoral, and it's completely wrong. It's extremist behaviour. But, you know, the Nazi Party, they did extreme things. Silicon Valley, Apple, Google, certainly Facebook. They're now doing extreme things, just like the Nazi Party were. And just like the Nazi Party, there are a lot of good people in there who don't like it and are just going along with the crowd. Stop. All white men at Google should just stop working. That's how much they hate white men then. If you work for these companies, blow the whistle. Everyone needs to stand up now. It's 5 to midnight. The time is running out. You have to do this now. Grow some balls. Let's get this done.